Hi everyone, my name is Danny Ferrier and today I'd like to share with you a really important model and a type of thinking to help you within your leadership journey. Because leadership is a marathon, and as we develop our team members, we need to be aware of how we can take the team member on a journey to be able to build the skills. Now, quite often what happens is you tell someone something once and then you expect them to change, and then you get frustrated as a leader, right? I'm sure it's happened to you before. But this model is a really good way to help them within their development and give them some really clear steps of what you expect them to achieve to make it manageable so that they can start to really step up and feel like they're guided by you rather than you giving them one time to be able to learn a new skill or change something about themselves and no real support in that area. And I know it's frustrating when you have to repeat yourself time and time again. I get it. Leadership is a marathon. You're having to constantly navigate and manage people. But ultimately, people are responsible for their own learning, and all they need from you is to guide them for what their next steps are and help them to unpack the thinking for what it is that they need to learn. And what I find too often is that business owners expect their team members to be able to do the job as well as the owner. And realistically, that's not possible. I mean, it is over a long period of time, but if you're expecting someone to do it as well as you do it now, then your expectations are too high. You can expect that people are going to be able to do the job up to 80% of your capacity, because you're a business owner, you've got more confidence, more understanding, and ultimately you opened your business because you are great at doing what you're doing, but you still need to learn how to coach and develop your team members and aim for 100% capacity, but make sure that you manage your expectations straight off the bat. And the last part that I want to just set up the frame before I get into the model is that quite often business owners want to give their team members feedback, but the team member reacts in a certain way. And you might have a team of 10 people, and out of those 10 people, you've got 2 that are really, really hard to talk to about, give them some feedback about something. And when you allow the outside world or other people around you to depict your behavior, it's like the tail is wagging the dog, and you are allowing them to hold yourself back from helping them grow. Now, we are all either green and growing or ripe and rotting. So the same team member that's reacting, they want to grow, they just don't know how to respond to feedback, or maybe they've never had anyone to help them understand why feedback is important, and you're going to have to take them on a growth journey to understand how they could be otherwise. So the model I'm going to teach you today is called Pace, Pace, Lead. Pace, Pace, Lead. Because we can't expect people to just figure it out. We have to guide them. We are their leaders. So pacing someone's experience means that you are noticing that they're not capable in that area, and you're going into that first conversation with a mindset of curiosity and compassion. This would look like having a 5 to 10 minute conversation with them and saying, hey, I'm just really curious. I've noticed this and this and this. What's going on for you in that area? And this first initial conversation is just for you to build connection with them and for you to understand their point of view. At this stage, you're not saying you need to do it like this. You're saying, this is me taking the time to understand you better so I can guide you essentially to learn the skill. And what we want from this conversation is to be able to then say, okay, so what is the next step? How else could you be? Or how else could you think differently? And being really open to what the team member says, because you want to just build that rapport with them and be able to see, okay, is there some wiggle room, or is there something that they're telling themselves that isn't very functional? Or is it that maybe they've misunderstood you? Or, there's an array of reasons why people don't act as you want them to. But going in with that mindset of curiosity really helps them to know that you do care and that you're opening up the doorway, the conversation, so that you can help them grow and develop in that area. The second pace is when you've had a conversation, open, curious conversation, and you've gone back to them and you've said, hey, I just want to check in with you. How has it been since our last conversation? I remember in our last conversation, you mentioned that you were trying to do this in this way now. What's going on with that? And sometimes in this conversation, you will realize that there has been no progress. And that's when you really want to find out, okay, what is the block? What is really going on with this team member? That'll help you to be able to strategize with them different ways of thinking. So this might be a slightly longer conversation of, hey, we've found some information out, we talked about it here, nothing's happened, or we've talked about it and there has been some progress and you acknowledge them, but you're able to create some more space and accountability for what you talked about in the first conversation. So you've had the pace, and then you're going to go into the leading conversation. And leading is where you really give that feedback, but with super clear expectations that you're going to be stretching them a little bit. Because you've built the rapport, you've created an opportunity for them to talk to you about it, you've maybe given them some insights into how you think and how you do it. And this leading conversation is more like, hey, we've had 2 conversations about this and nothing's changed. What would you like to do in this situation? So it's a little bit more of a hard line of, we've had some opportunities and nothing's changed. What's going on with that attitude, and where do we move to from here if I'm not seeing improvements in this area? And the mindset to have in this conversation is that sometimes people are just not a values match for your company. If you don't hire people on values and you hire people on skills, then they might not value growth as much as you do, and therefore they hate taking on feedback. Or maybe they don't value being a team player as much as you need them to. And so there might be a bit of a disconnect here. But this lead conversation is serious feedback that you need to be thinking about, are they a good match for the company? And is this going to work long term? But remember that values are people's values, and that's okay. And so the mindset is that if they are not a values match, they're just not a values match. But what tends to happen is that business owners, especially in a limited market or a limited location in New Zealand, they have a scarcity mindset that, I don't want this person to leave because I won't be able to find someone else, or it just seems like too much effort to hire someone else. But ultimately, when you're having a conversation with someone that's not getting anywhere, where you're seeing no improvements, they're not growing, you need to be having a good hard think about whether that person is worth it. If they're costing you a lot of energy, then it's definitely going to be affecting other areas of the business and your life.